Good morning, everyone. Thank you for starting your Saturday with us. We just shared some of the resources on the screen on the intro slide. If you feel as if the information went by too quickly, please give us a call after the early stage forum, and we would be more than happy to help you. So welcome to our 12th annual early stage forum. We would first like to address that we are all treaty people. We are gathered today on sacred land that has been the site of human activity since time immemorial. We are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we acknowledge them as the past, the present, and future caretakers in this land. In the spirit of not about us, without us, today's event theme, Navigating Dementia with Patience and Grace, was chosen by people living with dementia. My name is Kara, and I'm delighted to be your MC for the morning. I'm the Education and Support Coordinator in the Halifax area. I wear many hats, doing some public education, community education, caregiver support groups, and of course, our service through InfoLine. While we, of course, wish we could be together in person, we are delighted to virtually connect with so many people across the province, and in some instances, maybe you're tuning in today outside of the province. As of this morning, we actually have 200 people registered for our early stage forum. So we hope you enjoy the creature comforts of joining us today from your own home, which is always a bonus. And please settle in, have your cup of coffee, your tea, your water, and we hope that you have the opportunity to watch with your family, your friends, and maybe a few furry friends as well. So before we jump in today, I'm going to walk you through Zoom housekeeping. So this is a Zoom webinar, as you're aware. And this, of course, means that your video and your mic are automatically turned off. So you can communicate with us today through the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. If you wish to be anonymous, you may rename yourself. We are also recording this event to share with you so that you can connect at another time. You may decide to watch it next month, perhaps, or share it with friends and family. What we are going to do now, though, is we are going to hold a little poll. It's actually a getting to know you poll. So we're going to give a sec. Oh, there's the poll there. So as you see the poll, I'm actually going to read through some of those questions. It may be easier for you if I do that. Please pick the answers that best describe you. There are 2 questions, and you may actually need to scroll through those questions. So who is with us today? Please select the one category that best describes you. Then the second question that we're looking at is, where are you participating from today? So please take a moment to fill in the poll. Okay, so now let's get to the good stuff. So we have a dynamic mix of speakers for you today. And at the end of the presentations, we'll actually have a panel question and answer session with our guest speakers. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you today to our first guest speaker. She's one of our own, Catherine Shepard. Catherine is the Regional Coordinator, Cape Breton, and Provincial Lead for First Link Outreach at the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia. She lives in North Sydney and happily spends her day providing resources and supports for people on the dementia journey. Catherine will be providing an overview of the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia programs and services. So welcome, Catherine.
Good morning and welcome again to the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia Early Stage Forum. My name is Catherine Shepard and I'm a Regional Coordinator and Provincial First Link Outreach Lead for the Society, and I'm pleased to join you virtually today from Cape Breton. It's hard to believe that we've been living with COVID for over 2 years now, but in thinking back to March of 2020 and our in-person programming no longer a full-time option, we at the Alzheimer's Society were challenged to find new ways to connect with those that we serve. It was a learning curve for all of us as we jumped into this new virtual world of education and support. And so today I want to take a few minutes and talk with you about these programs and share some information about what is available to you for education, resources, and support. Our goal during this time was to continue our programs in the best way possible, and so they moved to Zoom. Not only did this help to decrease isolation and connect people, it also now means that as our world hopefully returns to that new normal, people can still connect when travel conditions are not ideal or if you can't attend an in-person program. As with any new endeavor, there were a few kinks to be worked out. Mics to be unmuted, cameras turned on, even a few cats to be shooed off laptops. Yet, once the program began, things began to feel just as they did when we were in person and together. All programs that the Alzheimer's Society provided that could move to online did move to online delivery. Programs like Information and Support Line continued to support those on the dementia journey. Our info line provides an opportunity for you to talk with someone who understands the dementia journey, and they can provide vital support. Every phone call to the info line is strictly confidential, and it's an opportunity to talk with someone who understands this disease. If you're thinking about different topics that you'd like to talk about, think about things like Alzheimer's disease and the other causes of dementia, maybe maintaining brain health, getting a diagnosis or even planning for the future, maintaining independence and tips and strategies for living well, or even links or referrals or suggestions to resources in your community. And of course, we always have free information and brochures that can be mailed your way. By now you're probably thinking, what are some of the programs that are available to me? Well, Shaping the Journey is a 6-week program for people who have been recently diagnosed with an early stage dementia and also for their partner in care, so you attend together. This program provides the opportunity for individuals to learn about dementia and connect with others who are going through similar experiences. Relationships are made during this program and often continue on long after the program has ended. Connections Hub is a virtual social support group for persons with early stage dementia. The group meets once a month for about an hour, and it's facilitated by an Alzheimer's Society staff. This is a social group and a safe environment for members to benefit from peer interaction and connection. It's a fun group where you can talk about whatever is going on in life. Dementia can be talked about, but it doesn't need to be the focus. Coffee and Conversation is a support group for early stage persons with dementia. They meet virtually every second week, and this program is partnered with Nova Scotia Health. The focus is dementia and sharing tips and strategies in living well. Virtual Artful Afternoon is a partnership program between the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia and the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia for persons with dementia and for their care partner. The program is focused on a social connection, lively conversation, and of course, learning about art from a dementia-friendly lens. I also think it's important to let you know that we are involved in about a dozen research projects, local and Canada-wide, that seek to better understand dementia and support quality of life. We have a research liaison working at the Society, so if you'd like to know more, or if you're interested in learning about how you could become involved in some of these research projects, please connect with us. And you might even see that we're doing a Walk Your Way in May. Wherever you are in the province or in the country, we invite you to walk to raise and show awareness about dementia. We also have a number of programs available for care partners, including our Family Caregiver Education Series, a 6-week program, our virtual support groups, and of course, public education. If you're interested in any of these programs, of when they are happening, or of how you become involved and register, please call and let us know, and we'll be happy to help you get registered for any that you're interested in. Whether you are just beginning the journey, wanting to know more, working your way through a difficult moment, or trying to understand what is happening, getting ready for a visit to a physician, or you just need to ask a question, or anything in between, it's never too early or too late to connect. So please know that if you are at any point of the journey and you think you may need some support and ongoing guidance, please call us. We're only a phone call away, and we're happy to help.
Thank you, Catherine, for providing an overview. We're just going to take a minute, actually, a minute pause, and then we'll come back. All righty. Thank you, Catherine, for providing an overview of the programs and services at the Alzheimer's Society. If you'd like to learn more about the programs and services, please feel free to call our confidential info line at 1-800-611-6345. And now I have the pleasure of introducing you to our next guest speaker, who's Faye Forbes. And Faye, of course, was born and raised in Nova Scotia. She's the proud mother of 3 grown daughters. Faye lives in Windsor Junction and is an associate priest at St. Francis by the Lakes Anglican Church. She's on the Alzheimer's Society of Canada Board of Directors and also their research committee. Faye also is on the board at the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia as well, and serves on numerous advisory and research committees. Faye is an advocate for persons living with dementia. She will be presenting There is Grace in Dementia. So welcome, Faye.
Thank you, Kara. Good morning, everyone. I hope the sun is shining in your neck of the province as well as it is in mine. Dementia. It's a bombshell dropped into the living. I felt like my life exploded into 1,000 pieces, and none of them left me feeling great about myself or my future. Did you feel that way too? Well, this is my story as I navigate each day to find meaning and joy in my life. My name is Faye. I am a mother and a grandmother. I raised my 3 girls as a single parent who was always juggling 4 active schedules, and multitasking was second nature. I wore many hats. But then my life started slowly unraveling. I had no initiative. I was zoned out, with no desire to do the things that I enjoyed. I could not process all that was happening around me. It was like there was a sandstorm in my head and I couldn't see my way. Then after several years of cocooning myself from family and friends, came the words early onset dementia. That was 12.5 years ago. It was a harsh dose of reality, a new reality. The fear of the unknowing was quickly overshadowed by apathy and indifference. Why bother? My fate is set. The irony is that at the same time, a sense of relief washed over me, and a sudden wave of peace and serenity surrounded me. All would be okay. Not the same, but okay nonetheless. And that was when my determination and faith kicked in. Together as a family, we began to educate ourselves A call to First Link gave us direction, support, and encouragement. Actually, one of the first things that we did was to attend this forum, the very first one. And for me, it was a real eye-opener to see and hear others who were traveling the same journey. Gave me hope that there was still good quality of life left in living, and they became my inspiration. Yes, it scares me. Yes, there are moments of sadness and fear. What's going to happen? When? Alzheimer's is a thief that can eat up your joy and leave you empty, just wallowing through each day. That is mere existence. It's not living. And so I'm fighting. I'm giving it my all and enjoying all the good things that I do have. Falling down is part of life, but getting back up is living. I'm learning to accept the way things are, and I choose to live a life of hope, not despair. Dementia is a time of change and reflection. I am not the same person I once was, but it's all about how you handle it. It's goodbye to the life that I knew and hello to the one that I now embrace. I look at Alzheimer's or dementia not as something lost, but a new stage of opportunity and strength. You have to find your own recipe for homemade happiness. Often people with dementia describe how family members assume that the diagnosis immediately renders them dependent, incapable, helpless, and may seek to take over that decision making. Not so. That would take your voice away and your choice of decision making and your dignity. Hear their advice, and if you require help, then you can ask for it. For me, the asking part and relying on others was difficult. It was totally out of my comfort zone, and it was a new learning experience, not just for me, but for my family too. I still had their respect for wanting to try things, but the drama that might have ensued was extinguished. I hope my life serves as an inspiration to those around me, but also to myself. So how do I do this? Well, I had to develop a can-do spirit and a positive mindset. I purposely do something productive each day, but that is a big step, and not to feel guilty if it doesn't happen. Sometimes you need just to take a break from that task to regain your patience and start again with grace. Sometimes it takes days to finish, but I try not to tax my body or my brain. And then I have that sense of accomplishment. I do things differently now, one small thing at a time, and with patience. I take time for me each day as well. Spirituality can bring delight in every day. It might be a faith, or enjoying nature, or music, immersion in the arts, being part of a loving community, or doing service for others. That experience allows us to feel connected to something a little bit larger than ourselves. Spirituality is something that makes your heart sing and puts a smile on your face. But when I'm tired, my brain tires. It shuts off. What I see, I hear, I sense, bounces off even before I begin to process it. So I give myself me days to rest, recuperate, or just veg. And I don't feel guilty about doing this anymore. I try to be content in the moment because I am living today as if it was my last. I savor each moment and intend to make the most out of and appreciate everything that each new dawn brings. All the events, the encounters, and relationships. I'm more focused on what's important to me. But what hasn't changed is that I still have the same feelings and emotions as before. I just find it harder to communicate those. So to see a smile of understanding sends a feeling of safety and trust so that I can be just who I am now. Dementia only defines one aspect of a person's humanness. My life is good in spite of Alzheimer's. I fill it with people I care about and things that I love to do. A warm glow and inner peace fills me. I'm content and happy and joyous again. I have Alzheimer's, but Alzheimer's does not have me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Faye. We really appreciate you sharing your experience in living with dementia. And as you said, Faye, really dementia is about change and it's about reflection. And one of the things that you mentioned as well, Faye, is that spirituality is a huge part of your life. And how do we find that sense of spirituality in our lives? You mentioned it could be in the arts, as you said, or doing work in the community or getting out in nature. And like you said, it's what are the things that you can continue to do that sort of puts a smile on your face. And I love the fact too, Faye, that you really pulled out the fact that you have to take those moments for yourself, that me time that you mentioned, that's so key in living well with dementia. And we all appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us today, Faye, and we all know that we will leave here today inspired by your message of finding grace in dementia and, of course, making the choice of living a life of hope. So thank you so much, Faye. Our next guest speaker will be Brian Wallace. And Brian is a person living with dementia. He will be having a conversation with Jennifer Haley that highlights his experience living with dementia. Brian is a married father of two who lives in the beautiful Annapolis Valley. And he is a former Baptist pastor who at the age of 55 was diagnosed with posterior cortical atrophy. This is a rare form of Alzheimer's disease. He enjoys being active and he can often be found running and cycling. And this past winter, he actually picked up on curling as well. So his days began with a walk with his wife, Shelley, and his golden retriever, Lucy. So Brian will be presenting It's Okay to Struggle, Welcome, Brian, and welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Jennifer.
Tell me about your diagnosis.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's a year ago in April.
Okay.
Yeah, and since then, it has been a year of struggles, a year of all kinds of different emotions and feelings and all of that. But I think also in that is, that I've learned some things that that are helpful. Maybe even learn some things about myself, but that might even be helpful for others.
Well, that makes me think I'd like to know what they are. What have you learned?
Yeah, so one of them is to have patience with yourself. And I think that, well, I'll give you an example. Shortly after I was diagnosed, I was mowing my backyard and finished mowing, and then went to do the whippersnipping, but the whippersnipper didn't have the cord, so that had to be replaced. And it took me numerous tries before I was actually able to do it. But the thing that really struck me was that even though it was frustrating, even though it was difficult, I did it, and there was a sense of accomplishment. And so that's something that's important to me, and I'm just wondering if that's not helpful for others too. Is that sometimes we need to struggle, and there will be a reward.
Okay. And I'm guessing it wouldn't have taken you numerous times before to do something like change the cord on that.
Yeah, it was actually something fairly simple for somebody else, or
Right.
for in the past.
Right.
But
it was struggling with it made you even more. It was probably the best sense of accomplishment you've ever had for doing a task.
Yeah, for sure.
So what else? I'm guessing you might have something to say to someone who could potentially be watching you struggle or watching you try something numerous times.
Right.
What would that advice be?
Yeah, that one, I really don't like it when people just jump in to try and help. For one thing, I think it's taking away from me. There's that struggle is, even though it is a struggle, and even though it is, frustrating, and I think it's important to me to be able to figure things out and to do them as much as I can. And so my preference is for people to ask, and that also gives me the opportunity to say yes or no. And sometimes, I'm gonna say no, and other times I might say yes. And there are even times when I do need help, and I do have people who are willing to help, and I'm grateful for that.
But I guess it's key to me that you ultimately make the decision about what's important to continue to try to do and what's important to change or get help with.
Yeah.
So with respect to change, how have you had to modify things?
Oh, a number of things. There was my bicycle. I bought a racing bike, a road bike, and I got the click-in pedals and all that stuff. And I tried for a while. I just fell because I couldn't get my feet out fast.
Oh no.
And that happened numerous times, probably more than I'm willing to admit. But finally, I realized that, you know, I could maybe do it differently. And what all I had to do was to change the pedals and put regular pedals on that bike. And so
Okay.
that's been helpful as well.
And I wonder if someone, you know, there is always someone helpful around us, right? To point out something we should try. If
Yes.
someone had said to you before you had all those falls, Brian, why don't you switch those pedals out? What would you have said?
Not yet.
You needed to figure it out for yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, it did take some time.
Yeah. And time is probably something else that is
Yeah. Right.
is a hot commodity when you're going through this.
Yeah, I found that I needed to give myself more time, basically for everything,
Okay.
because it's just if I'm being rushed in some way, that's when I get anxious, and that's when I'm struggling even more. So it's better for me to you know, to try and slow down and to do things, you know, as simply as I can, um, and not give up. So yeah, that's important to me as well, just to slow down a little bit.
So I'm hearing patience
Patience.
is
Yeah.
going to help with yourself and for others to have patience as you have patience, right?
Hmm. Yeah, or even having patience with others.
Oh, you mean the forgiving the people who want to jump in.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, sure. And I guess you need time to have patience
Yeah.
and time for the struggle.
Hmm. Yeah, but even realizing that because I'm slower, is just to give myself more time, even if I'm getting ready. Like my coat, I may take 3 tries before I get my coat on, and I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
I know sometimes other people may be looking and wondering, can I help him? Should I help him? And my answer would be no.
And
I'll get.
I'm hearing that really what you want is for people to ask,
Yes.
how can I best help? Do you want help with the coat or do you want time to do it yourself?
Yeah, that's really helpful.
What a good message to end on, Brian.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for sharing these stories and tips today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Jennifer. Brian, you mentioned that it's okay to struggle because even though something is difficult, there was the reward in knowing that you did it. There's that sense of accomplishment, knowing that you did, you fixed that, the whippersnipper. And you stressed also the importance of being patient with yourself, giving yourself more time. And you suggested that if people really wanted to help with whatever task it was that you were doing in the moment, that your preference for your friends and your family was really just to simply ask, right? And sort of by asking, it gives you the opportunity to then say yes or no, which I think is so important. You know, people are, they want to help. And so what is the best way that they can help? So asking that question first. So we really appreciate your sharing of your knowledge and your experience today, Brian. Thank you so much. So to help us move along to the second half of the morning, we are actually going to take a short break. And during the break, my colleague, Kalandra Kanjora, she's our coordinator of client services, she'll be walking you through a peaceful guided meditation, and we'll actually be displaying some beautiful artwork shared by Remy and her daughter, Shaheen.
Good morning, everyone. For this part of your break, I'm going to walk you through a guided meditation practice. This guided meditation is focused on bringing awareness to your thoughts, your emotions, and sensations. Meditation is a reflective practice which allows us to become more present in our daily lives. Regardless of whether you've been meditating for years or perhaps this is your first time being introduced to meditation, I invite you to join me. A gentle reminder that there is no correct way to meditate or to experience meditation. The process will look different for each and every one of us, and we will experience the process differently and uniquely. So with that in mind, I would first encourage you to take a moment to find a comfortable position. So this might be seated in a cross-legged position. This might be lying down, or you could be standing up. Whatever is most comfortable or accessible to you. And if you are lying down, just take a moment to pause and feel the part of your body connected to the earth, whether that's your back, your shoulders, maybe noticing your feet connected to the earth. And if you're in a seated position like I am, just take some time to roll your shoulders up and down the back, just inviting some really gentle movements into your body and opening through the shoulders, just noticing that opening. And one more in this way, taking the shoulders all the way up to the ears and then down along the back. Inviting some softness into your face, your jaw, your belly. Just making some slight adjustments to see where you can soften. You don't need to change anything about the mind, your thoughts, the heart, any of your sensations. Just simply allow what's happening to be in your awareness. What sensations are you experiencing as we move through this beginning to our practice? Is there tension or tightness that shows up anywhere in your body? Are there places of relaxation and ease? And as you ease into this relaxation, reflectiveness, I'd invite you to either leave your eyes open or perhaps take them to close. And just continue to rest your awareness on the body. Maybe there are thoughts or emotions coming up. Just let everything be here. And now I'll invite you to take a deep breath in through the nose. And exhale to sigh it out. Another one in this way, inhaling to fill up. And exhale to let it go. Do this a few times with your own breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling to sigh it out. Notice on the inhale through the nose, the front of your body soften as you fill up. And as you exhale, just let that all go and sigh. Don't have to think about the body or what it's doing, just simply feel the sensation of the breath moving in and out. And now just notice the part of the body that's supporting you. So if you're in a chair, perhaps you're connected to that. If you're standing, noticing your feet connected to the earth. If you're lying down, perhaps noticing the weight of your back, your shoulders, your feet, your heels, all against the floor, the earth that's supporting you. And let the weight of what you're feeling ground you. Still focusing on that deep breath in through the nose. And exhale to sigh it out and let that go. And if you do find you're thinking about the present, the future, that's all very natural. See if you can shift your awareness to the breath. We're not judging ourselves for having these thoughts. That's what the mind does, but we are creating that deeper awareness, deeper connection to the breath as a way to move through the thoughts that we all have throughout the day. So it's not about judgment, it's about being present. So as you're continuing to inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, it might be helpful to just take one hand and place it on your belly to really fill up through the belly on the inhale. And exhale, we let that go. One more in this way, inhaling to fill up. Exhale to release. Let that go. And one more with your own breath, inhaling to fill up. Exhale to release. So we're not pushing away thoughts or emotions. We're tuning back into our breath. Our breath is a form of healing that we can use as a tool. So moving through that and focusing on what it feels like to have the belly fill up with the inhale and then exhaling it all away. Just take a moment in silence to rest in this awareness of the breath, connection to the earth. Connection to that which supports us, whether it's our feet, our yoga mat, our chair. And as we are slowly coming to a close in our meditation practice, leaving your eyes closed if they're still closed, take a moment to express gratitude towards yourself for taking the time to start this guided meditation. In the theme of patience and grace, meditation can be a really useful tool. So slowly bring the eyes to open if they're closed. Thank you so much for engaging in this meditation practice with me. I hope that you will draw it into your daily lives if it's a tool you haven't used before. It can be really, really helpful to find kindness, to find gratitude. So thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your break and enjoyed Calandra's guided meditation, and of course, Remy's beautiful artwork. We actually will now hear from Jennifer Haley. Jennifer is a registered psychologist with Seniors Health, Geriatric Medicine at Nova Scotia Health. She works with individuals with dementia and their care partners. She also works in long-term care with Veteran Services at Camp Hill. For the past 7 years, she has collaborated with the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia to develop and deliver programs to persons living with dementia, specifically early stage dementia. Jennifer will be discussing, how do I have patience when everything is changing?
How do I have patience when everything is changing? Having dementia means that you will become an expert at change. Your changing cognitive abilities will require that you change how you do things. Some things will get harder for you to do, and believe it or not, some will get easier. So how do you do this and stay grounded? Stay true to yourself and those around you. Be patient. Easier to say than do, right? What can you ask of the people in your life? That they too embrace patience. Some people define patience as the ability to remain calm when dealing with a difficult or annoying situation. I like to think that patience is the ability to endure difficult circumstances without responding in disrespect, which means you don't have to look calm while doing it. Like Brian has mentioned in his session, there can be a struggle. It's a struggle because change is hard. We are creatures of habit. We like the status quo. All change involves loss, even the changes we choose, plan for, and look forward to. Retiring, having a baby, moving to a new home. No one experiences these without a "what have I done" moment of despair. Your dementia symptoms chose you. You didn't ask for the changes you will face. So the calm part is not realistic. Patience may not be about calm, but about giving yourself time and asking for time from others. You need time because change produces feelings, normal, healthy feelings. Did you know that these are the same feelings you feel when you experience a major loss in your life? Feelings like shock, denial, anger, sadness, as well as acceptance. Some of these are very unpleasant. Some protect you for a while. Give yourself time to feel them, to talk about them, to learn from them, to acknowledge them, and to have your feelings acknowledged by others. You need time because the people who are close to you are also experiencing those feelings, although maybe at different times or in a different order. So giving each other space to experience those change feelings also takes time. You may even need time to work out hurt feelings, because when people's feelings don't match up, it makes it really hard to support each other. I often hear from persons with dementia, as well as care partners, about how hard it is to be accepting around someone who's feeling anger or sadness. Don't come to me with your bad news. I'm having a good day. The reverse is also true. If you're needing validation for your anger or sadness, someone telling you to look on the bright side can seem dismissive. Again, all are normal, healthy feelings, but if yours don't line up with those of your partner or others close to you, then you may have better luck getting support from someone else, depending on the day. You need time because change is a process. It involves leaving a comfortable state of being or doing. It involves getting used to a new version of being or doing. What catches many people off guard is how long it takes to do this, that there's a hidden transition time in between the old and the new. That's the part where you experience the struggle, the part where you experiment. What parts of the task can I still do? Where do I want to spend my energy? What do I need help with? How do I ask for it? Who do I ask? What am I happy to delegate to someone else? What will I lose if someone else takes it over from me and I'm no longer involved? It's also the time when you may be at odds with the people who are trying to support you. As Brian has told us, this is when you're most likely to have someone want to jump in and take over for you. It's hard to watch someone struggle, but we also hear from him that it can lead to something good. It will always take more time to figure out how to do something differently. It's not pretty, the transition, the experimenting, the 7 times you try to fix that whippersnapper, as Brian has described. The fast way is to give it to someone else to do. You will try, get it wrong, try again, get it wrong again, maybe even try again before you figure out that you need to adjust something, to ask for help, to accommodate for your cognitive changes. But as we heard from Brian, what you gain if you take the time, make the adaptations, play to your strengths, that feeling of accomplishment will do so much good for your mental well-being. What was once simply a job on your to-do list can become the boost of joy or satisfaction to offset those lost feelings that are now a part of your reality. Whenever a family member asks me how to best support someone with early stage dementia, my answer is ask them. A person may want time and space to struggle. A person may want reminders to be patient. A person may want help with the experimentation phase. A person may want you to just acknowledge how hard it is. The very fact of being asked, considering a choice, then making a decision, even if it's to hand off a task, will go a long way towards preserving agency and autonomy in a disease where these are threatened. Most of all, be reassured that dementia itself gives you time. The changes ahead of you may be slow and gradual. You will have time to figure it out. All humans have this capacity for change. Get in the mindset now to think about how you can best equip yourself for change. How have you handled other major life changes? Think about what it means to be patient. How do you deal with your emotions? How do you ask for help? What gives you satisfaction, a sense of accomplishment? One thing I have noticed in my work with all stages of dementia, and that is despite all the changes you will face, those things that bring you joy, that give your life meaning, give you satisfaction, a sense of accomplishment, those things do not change. They will endure. So figuring out how to stay involved in those things by being patient, by taking the time, will be well worth the time spent.
We hope you enjoyed those minutes to come up with some questions for Jennifer. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for focusing on the fact that with dementia, there's always change. And yes, it can be very difficult. And as you said, as humans, as people, we have the capacity for change. So how do we do that? And you said, of course, by preparing ourselves to get into the mindset for change. I love that. So being patient with ourselves and giving ourselves the time and the space to continue to do the things that bring us joy, that give us purpose, that give us a sense of accomplishment. And Jennifer, you had mentioned as well, the question that you frequently get asked is, how do I best support my family member? And of course, it's ask your family member, ask them how they can help. And then you also talked about as well, that sense of agency as well that people have, and the importance for people to maintain that agency and independence and continue to do the things that they enjoy and love doing. Thank you, Jennifer, for highlighting the importance of taking the time to be patient with ourselves during the change. So now we're actually going to invite back our guest speakers. It'll take a couple of minutes for them to pop back on their screen. So I would invite all of our guest speakers back. Please turn your videos on and unmute yourselves, because we're actually going to be moving into the question and answer session as part of the panel conversation for this morning. And I see Faye popping in there. Hello, Faye. And
Hi.
Brian. Hello. Hello, Brian. I see you're off to the right-hand side. Faye, you're on the left. And Jennifer, you are over here. So, welcome, everyone. And Brian, if you're able to move your camera just a bit, we see the top. Yeah, just bring it up a little bit so we can, there you go. Perfect. Thank you, Brian. Awesome. So we have a number of questions. And Brian, we've lost your video there. Okay, we'll get you back. No worries. So we have a few questions that came in. We actually have quite a few questions that came in. And I'm actually going to start. There's Brian back again. I'm going to start, Faye, with a question for you.
Okay.
All righty. Actually, I'll start with a comment, and this is from one of our audience members. Faye, you are wonderful and truly an inspiration. Live your best life every day.
Well, thank you for the compliment.
And so here's the question, Faye. How do you handle the confusion sometimes that you may feel, especially when there's different things that are happening in and around you? What are some of the things that you do, Faye?
Well, when that sandstorm gets pretty strong in my head, and there's a lot of people talking and moving and, just having fun, sometimes I just need to take some time for myself and I walk away. And I might go outside for just a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and just clear my head and get it back before I come back into the chaos of the family life. And sometimes I do that a couple of times, depending on how long the event is going on.
And that's just it, isn't it? Because there's always going to be those family events that are happening. And so for you, it's taking a moment, stepping away, like you said, going for a little walk and then coming back. And it's okay to be able to kind of jump in and then jump back out again.
Yeah. And the family understands that. They know that. And if I don't recognize it, they quite often will say, Mom, why don't you go out and get some fresh air for a minute?
Getting that fresh air. And that's always, even maybe it's walking around the house.
Yeah.
Just getting it, just a little bit of fresh air is always helpful. Thank you, Faye. I have one for you, Jennifer. So one of the questions that I have here is, let's just see, how do you talked about changes and how, change is normal and it's to be, anticipated, but how are some of the things that I can do? What can I do to prepare myself for those changes?
I think almost, again, recognize that change is hard. So you kind of set the expectation for yourself that it's not going to be like, an overnight thing. I always think it's a great idea to kind of take an inventory of your supports in your life. I mean, who, so it's going to be emotional. Who are those people that you can cry with? Who can you rage with? Who is going to distract you from those for a while? Because we all need breaks from that. So, I always think that reaching out and kind of expecting it to be hard will help you start to think about, I'm going to need to treat myself well through this. Yeah.
That's part of that preparation. It's knowing to be kinder for yourself, to treat yourself well during this journey. And I think Faye and Brian, you both also, you recognize that, the importance of taking time, being patient with yourself. So key in this journey. And for family members too, to take time for themselves as well. Faye, yes.
Yeah, just a comment on what Jennifer had said about knowing who to go to have a hug or cry on somebody's shoulder or rant or rave. It doesn't have to be the same person for everything. We have multiple people in our lives, and they're all good for different reasons, and they're all in our lives for different reasons. So I have one person that I go to when I need a special hug, or if I want to rant and rave, I know somebody who will listen and not take offense at what I'm saying. So yeah, it doesn't have to be your caregiver. It doesn't have to be the same person all the time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Faye. You got to be strategic, right?
Right.
I know who to call if I need my, mail picked up, but that's not necessarily the person that's going to help me when I'm having a down day, right?
Right.
Everyone has a different role in our life, and the more people in your network that you can kind of share the support with, the more effective it's going to be, and it's not going to be a drain on one person.
Yeah, it's all about where you share your emotions.
Yeah,
where you share your emotions. Having all of those different people, and I think of a song that comes to my mind. It's sort of like Sesame Street. Who are the people in your neighborhood? Who are those people, in your network, right? Like who are those families? It may be somebody who you call who makes you giggle, right? Yeah. Or it's that person who's just so good at listening, and it doesn't matter what you say. They're there, but the ear to bend. Brian, I have a comment for you that came in. So this person has said, Brian, you have helped me so much as I think I try to help my mom way too much. So thank you so much for helping me to realize this.
Thank you. Great.
And I have another question as well, Brian, for you. When you're having those moments, when you're trying to fix the whippersnipper, when you're having some difficulty, that struggle that you mentioned, what is important for your family members to know?
Well, for my family members or even other people would be, don't jump in. At least not right away. And again, I really prefer if people ask. It's that sense of, that I'm still in charge, in charge of me. And so it's important for me that people ask.
Definitely. And like you said, Brian, it's important for you to be, the master of your own ship sort of thing, yes. and for people to ask. That's important, the ability to ask. I have here a question for myself, actually. Let's see. We have a question about, are there any other programs that we offer at the Alzheimer's Society specifically for people in the early stage of dementia? And yes, as you've seen some of the artwork, we also have a program called Shaping the Journey. We also have, it's a 6-week psychoeducational program. And we also have support groups, early stage support groups as well. So what I would suggest, and we've had this request in the chat box, give us a call at the info line and we can give you more information around our programs and services. And so the number to call is 611-6345. And I have another question here specifically for Faye. Faye, what supports would you recommend to somebody who's newly diagnosed?
Well, the first thing I would suggest is that they call the info line to see what's out there in their community. And then the next thing would be education, because the more you learn about the disease that you've got, the easier it is to make those changes and not be hard on yourself. And that when you're newly diagnosed, it's like I said, it's a bombshell going off in your life, and you don't know where to turn, you don't know what to do or how to do it or where to start. It's like being a freshman at university and all of a sudden you're into Frosh Week and everybody's going in different directions. So find a roadmap for yourself, and you can do that by working with the Alzheimer's Society and getting some education and finding out what programs are available. And if you try a program, it might not be for you, or it might not fit into your timeline, but then there are others out there, and find someone you can talk to.
Finding somebody that you can talk to and sort of reaching out, getting that education and calling, connecting with the Alzheimer's Society. And that's, Faye, I'm going to share with the group, that's how we met. I met you initially through, you had invited me, and that's like 12 and a half years ago. I've been with the Society for 13 years, and you had invited me out to do some education. So we came out and we provided education on dementia to the congregation. And from there, I know of all of the amazing, work that you've done in advocating for other people. And so talking about it and educating. So Brian, I flipped that question to you as well. What are some of the things that you found helpful after diagnosis?
Well, I think part of it was grieving. It's a part of the process, and you can't pretend that it's not there. And yeah, so I think that's part of it, and then to continue on doing the things that you used to, and even if you have to do them in a different way, if at all possible, to continue on with them. I think that's important.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in with Jennifer here, because what Brian had said, it's that grieving process and it's those emotions. And I'm thinking, Jennifer, how would you sort of, what would you say as far as that grieving process, but the emotions, looking at our emotions and the importance of labeling those emotions?
I think I'm so glad that Brian brought this up, because I think, a lot of people come to me and think they're not doing well. Like I hear this a lot. I'm not coping very well because I'm sad or I'm angry, and they take that as a sign that they're not coping or not handling it. And the grief part is the handling of it. That's how we move to a place of change or acceptance, or getting used to this new life or a new version of you that is still you fundamentally, but it's you and how you kind of live your life now with this changed part of you that includes having this illness. So, and also people often worry if I'm doing, there's a lot of worry about the future with dementia, and I don't, if I'm not coping now, how am I going to manage later? And for me, I see this is the hard part, like the initial grief and the reconciling and the getting your head around this stuff. As Brian said, the grief stuff
this is the hard part.
Definitely, yeah. It is the hard part. And I think you mentioned too, Jennifer, in your presentation, the idea and the sense of that transition, that occurs as well, right?
And so that's necessary. Those things are not just, you know, unpleasant things. They're necessary parts of the equation to get to this, you know, phase so empowering as you speak about how you're living your life now. And, you know, it didn't, I'm sure, start out for you that way, Faye. You had to kind of, you had to go through the muck and the mire, right, to get to that place.
Yeah, it's like when you change residences and move to a new town, you have to figure out, you miss your old friends and you grieve their loss, and you're confused where the grocery store is or the drugstore is or the bank is, and which street is one way and which street isn't, and you've got to tidy up the house and unpack. And that's what the diagnosis is like, only you've got to apply it to your life, not a house.
I see a head nod over there, Brian.
Yeah, it's change for sure.
Yeah. I had a question actually from one of the audience members who is going to be traveling soon with their family member, and they're wondering what would be possible, what would be helpful in sort of making that move to change, whether it's going on a flight, going to the airport, getting in a car for a long distance. And I'm going to get you guys to jump in if you'd like. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in there. But my suggestion is giving yourself plenty of time. So knowing that if you have, you know, a journey that you're going to be taking, whether it's going to be a car or if you're going to be flying, one of the things to do is to prepare well in advance. Give yourself plenty of time. If you're traveling by plane, I would suggest to go to the airport extra early, but also to be prepared that when you go through security, you may want to let the staff know that you may need a bit of extra assistance to get from one part of the airport to the other. If you're in the car, making sure you have plenty of snacks, change of clothes, you know, all of these different things, which are going to be really important. But I think the biggest thing is just to ensure that you give yourself plenty of time in the process so that you're not rushing. Would anybody else like to sort of add?
For me, I do a lot of traveling, most of it by plane. And what I find hard is the long flights that are direct. Now, I know it's easier to have a direct flight, but I prefer to have stopovers so that I can get up and I can walk around and I can clear my head from the baby screeching 3 rows behind me, or the guy in the next aisle snoring his head off, or whatever it happens to be. And I choose just an hour stopover or something.
So having a stopover and just to be aware that there's those certain things that are going to happen, like the crying child.
Yeah.
That sort of comes. Yeah. And we all appreciate.
Yeah. These 12-hour flights are, you know, ridiculous. For me, they're ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've had a lot of questions, and I just wanted to communicate to everybody that's in our audience today, this panel discussion, the conversation that we're having today in the early stage forum, it is being recorded and it will be up on our website so that you can see it. As far as a transcription, somebody had wanted a copy of some of the presentations today, so please give us a call on the info line and we can give you that information. So again, like I said, we are going to be moving in toward the end of the day now, which is kind of hard to believe. Thank you so much, Faye and Jennifer and Brian, for sharing your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom, just being authentic and genuine with your experience in living with dementia. So again, as I said, we have a lot of information. If you're looking for more information about dementia, We have a number of resources at the Society and also at our website as well. So our hope really for today is that you are inspired by what you learned today, that you recognize that you're not alone. You know, you're not alone. Like there's a team of us here, and there's all of you in the audience today. So, and I think that's really important. Feeling empowered as well to navigate dementia with patience and with grace,